Look, if you're over 60 and still reaching for that morning orange juice thinking it's healthy, you need to hear this. A new analysis of over 40,000 adults found that people drinking fruit juice daily had a 23% higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes compared to those who avoided it entirely. But here's what they don't tell you about the juice industry's marketing machine. That same research revealed something extraordinary about a simple tea that's been hiding in plain sight for centuries. What if I told you? There's a beverage sitting in most grocery stores right now that diabetes specialists are quietly recommending to their patients over 60? Something that doesn't just avoid spiking your blood sugar like juice does, but actually helps your body process glucose more efficiently? You're probably thinking green tea, maybe chamomile. You'd be wrong on both counts. Here's the kicker. The tea I'm talking about costs less than $3 for a month's supply, has 0 calories, and according to recent findings from major medical institutions, can help reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes by up to 30% in older adults. But there's something even more surprising about this tea that makes it the perfect replacement for juice after 60. And then there's the one thing that shocked even me when I started digging into the research. This isn't just about replacing juice. This tea contains compounds that may actually help repair some of the cellular damage that decades of sugar consumption has done to your body. I'll reveal exactly which tea this is and how to prepare it properly in just a few minutes. But first, let me ask you something. Drop a comment and let me know how old you are and whether you still drink fruit juice regularly. I'm curious to see how many of us were fooled by the health halo around juice for all these years. Now, before we dive into the tea that's about to change your morning routine, you need to understand why fruit juice became public enemy number 1 for blood sugar control after 60. Your body changes as you age, and what seemed harmless at 40 can become dangerous at 70. When you drink 8 ounces of orange juice, you're consuming roughly 24 grams of sugar with virtually no fiber to slow absorption. That's like eating 6 teaspoons of table sugar on an empty stomach. Your pancreas, which has been working for 6 decades or more, suddenly has to flood your bloodstream with insulin to handle this sugar tsunami. Research from diabetes treatment centers shows that adults over 60 who consume fruit juice daily have insulin resistance rates nearly 40% higher than those who avoid it. Think of insulin resistance like a key that's getting worn out. After years of use, it doesn't unlock your cells as efficiently, leaving sugar floating in your bloodstream where it damages blood vessels, nerves, and organs. Margaret, 72, used to drink a large glass of cranberry juice every morning, thinking it would help prevent urinary tract infections. She was a retired school nurse, so she trusted the health claims on the label. Her morning blood sugar readings were consistently over 150, well into pre-diabetic territory. Her doctor suggested she track what happened to her blood sugar after drinking juice versus having the same volume of the tea I'm about to reveal. Within 2 weeks of making the switch, Margaret's morning readings dropped to an average of 112, not because the tea has some magical property, but because she eliminated the sugar bomb that was starting every day with a glucose roller coaster. Here's the practical part. If you're currently drinking juice, don't go cold turkey tomorrow. Your taste buds have been trained to expect sweetness, and sudden changes often lead to giving up entirely. Instead, start diluting your juice by half with water for 1 week. Then switch to the tea I'm about to reveal, adding just a teaspoon of unsweetened cranberry juice if you need that familiar flavor bridge. But here's where it gets interesting. The tea that diabetes specialists are recommending isn't chosen just because it avoids sugar. This particular tea contains compounds that actively help your body manage glucose more effectively. The tea I'm talking about is white tea. Not green, not black, not herbal. White tea. It's made from the same plant as green and black tea, but it's harvested earlier and processed minimally, which preserves higher levels of specific compounds called polyphenols. Here's why white tea is perfect for blood sugar control after 60. Those polyphenols, particularly one called catechins, have been shown in clinical settings to improve insulin sensitivity. Think of them as tune-up tools for that worn-out key I mentioned earlier. They help insulin work more efficiently, So your body doesn't need to produce as much to handle the same amount of glucose. Studies from major medical centers suggest that drinking white tea 30 minutes before meals can reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes by 20 to 30% in adults over 60. The mechanism is simple. These compounds slow down the enzymes that break down carbohydrates in your digestive system, meaning sugar enters your bloodstream more gradually instead of all at once. Frank, 68, was a former truck driver who had developed what his doctor called metabolic syndrome. His blood pressure was elevated, his waistline had expanded, and his blood sugar was creeping toward diabetic levels. Frank had been drinking apple juice with breakfast for 20 years, convinced it was better than soda. When Frank switched to white tea brewed properly, something remarkable happened within 3 weeks. His post-meal blood sugar readings, which used to spike to over 180 after breakfast, stabilized around 130. His energy levels improved because he wasn't experiencing those mid-morning crashes that come from sugar spikes and drops. Here's how to prepare white tea for maximum blood sugar benefits. Use water that's heated to about 175 degrees, not boiling. Boiling water destroys those delicate polyphenols you're after. Steep 2 teaspoons of loose white tea or 2 tea bags in 8 ounces of water for 3 to 5 minutes. Longer steeping extracts more beneficial compounds, but also increases caffeine content, which some people over 60 need to monitor. Drink 1 cup about 30 minutes before your largest meal of the day. This timing allows those compounds to be present in your digestive system when you need them most. You can drink white tea throughout the day, but avoid it within 6 hours of bedtime if you're sensitive to caffeine. Now here's something that might surprise you about white tea versus the juice you've been drinking. While juice provides a temporary energy boost followed by a crash, white tea offers sustained, gentle energy without the roller coaster effect. The caffeine content in white tea is about half that of coffee and a third that of black tea, making it perfect for older adults who want alertness without jitters or sleep disruption. But the real energy boost comes from stable blood sugar levels throughout the day. This is where most people make a crucial mistake when switching from juice to tea. They expect immediate dramatic changes and give up when they don't see results in 48 hours. Blood sugar stability is like turning a massive ship. The improvements are gradual but compound over time. Linda, 71, was skeptical when her endocrinologist suggested replacing her morning grapefruit juice with white tea. She had been drinking citrus juice every morning since her 30s, believing it provided vitamin C and helped her immune system. Linda was also pre-diabetic and taking medication to control her blood sugar. Linda committed to the switch for 1 full month before judging results. By week 2, she noticed fewer mid-morning energy crashes. By week 4, her blood sugar logs showed a clear pattern of more stable readings throughout the day. After 3 months, her doctor was able to reduce her medication dosage because her blood sugar control had improved so significantly. Here's the protocol Linda followed, which you can adapt to your routine. She replaced her 8-ounce glass of grapefruit juice with 8 ounces of properly brewed white tea. For the first week, she added a 1/4 teaspoon of fresh lemon juice to bridge the citrus flavor she missed. By week 2, she enjoyed the pure tea taste and no longer needed the lemon. Linda also discovered that white tea paired beautifully with her breakfast routine. Unlike juice, which made her crave something sweet afterward, the tea seemed to satisfy her in a way that made healthy breakfast choices easier. But there's something even more powerful about white tea that goes beyond blood sugar control. This is where the research gets really interesting for people over 60. White tea contains the highest levels of antioxidants among all true teas. These antioxidants, particularly a compound called epigallocatechin gallate, have been associated with protecting blood vessels from the damage that high blood sugar can cause over time. Think of it this way. When your blood sugar spikes repeatedly from drinking juice, it's like sandpaper scraping the inside of your arteries. White tea's antioxidants act like a protective coating, reducing inflammation and helping repair some of that accumulated damage. Research from Cardiovascular Institute suggests that people over 60 who drink white tea regularly have better arterial flexibility and lower markers of inflammation compared to those who don't. This isn't just about preventing future problems. It's potentially about reversing some of the damage that years of blood sugar spikes may have caused. Robert, 65, had been diagnosed with early-stage diabetic neuropathy, nerve damage in his feet that caused numbness and tingling. His neurologist explained that high blood sugar over time had damaged the small blood vessels that feed his nerves. Robert had been drinking orange juice every morning for decades, never connecting it to his health problems. When Robert switched to white tea and made other dietary changes, something unexpected happened over 6 months. The tingling in his feet decreased noticeably, and sensation began returning to areas that had been numb. His neurologist was surprised by the improvement and asked what changes Robert had made. This brings up an important point about expectations. While Robert experienced notable improvement, nerve damage reversal isn't guaranteed for everyone. What is consistent across studies is that people who stabilize their blood sugar through changes like switching from juice to white tea tend to prevent further nerve damage and often see some improvement in symptoms. Here's Robert's exact routine, which his doctors now recommend to other patients. 2 cups of white tea daily, 1 30 minutes before breakfast and 1 30 minutes before dinner. He brews it slightly stronger than recommended for most people, steeping for 6 minutes instead of 3 to 5, but he built up to this gradually. Robert also learned to pair his tea drinking with a short walk. The combination of the tea's blood sugar benefits and the muscle activity from walking created a synergistic effect that improved his glucose metabolism even further. Now, let me share the preparation. Mistake that ruins white tea's blood sugar. Benefits for most people. They use water that's too hot, they steep it too briefly, or they add sweeteners that defeat the entire purpose of switching from juice. Water temperature is critical. Boiling water, which is 212 degrees, destroys up to 60% of the beneficial polyphenols in white tea. You want water that's heated to 175 to 180 degrees. If you don't have a thermometer, bring water to a boil. Then let it sit for 3 to 4 minutes before pouring over your tea. Steeping time matters too. Those beneficial compounds need time to extract from the leaves. 3 minutes is the minimum for blood sugar benefits. 5 minutes is optimal for most people. Beyond 7 minutes, you start extracting tannins that make the tea bitter without adding health benefits. And here's the sweetener trap that catches most people. If you add honey, agave, or any other sweetener to your white tea, you're partially defeating the purpose of switching from juice. Your blood sugar will still spike, just not as dramatically. If you absolutely need sweetness, use stevia or monk fruit sweetener in tiny amounts, and gradually reduce the amount over 2 weeks until you can enjoy the tea unsweetened. Dorothy, 74, made every mistake possible when she first tried white tea. She used boiling water, steeped it for only 1 minute, and added 2 teaspoons of honey because she thought honey was healthier than sugar. Her blood sugar readings barely improved from her juice drinking days. When Dorothy learned proper preparation techniques and eliminated the honey gradually over 10 days, her results transformed. Her post-meal blood sugar readings dropped from an average of 165 to 128 within 3 weeks. Dorothy's routine became a mindful morning ritual. She heated water in her electric kettle, then timed exactly 4 minutes while it cooled. She steeped her white tea for exactly 5 minutes using a small timer. This routine became something she looked forward to, unlike the mindless juice consumption she'd practiced for years. The ritual aspect turned out to be almost as beneficial as the tea itself. Dorothy found that taking time to prepare her tea mindfully helped her approach her entire breakfast routine with more intention, leading to better food choices throughout the day. But here's what surprised Dorothy and might surprise you. White tea's benefits extend beyond blood sugar control into areas that directly impact quality of life after 60. The same compounds that help stabilize blood sugar also support cognitive function. Research from neuroscience centers indicates that the polyphenols in white tea may help protect brain cells from the damage that blood sugar fluctuations can cause over time. Think about how you feel after drinking juice versus how you feel after drinking white tea. Juice creates that familiar pattern of energy spike followed by brain fog and fatigue. White tea provides gentle, sustained mental clarity without the crash. This cognitive benefit is particularly important for people over 60 because blood sugar instability has been linked to increased risk of dementia and cognitive decline. While white tea isn't a cure or prevention for these conditions, stable blood sugar is one factor that supports long-term brain health. Harold, 69, was a retired accountant who prided himself on mental sharpness. He had started noticing what he called fuzzy thinking in the mornings, especially after his usual breakfast of toast and orange juice. Harold worried this was early dementia and mentioned it to his doctor during a routine visit. His doctor suggested tracking Harold's morning routine and blood sugar patterns. They discovered that Harold's blood sugar was spiking to over 190 after breakfast, then crashing to 75 about 2 hours later. Those dramatic swings were likely contributing to his morning brain fog. Harold replaced his orange juice with white tea and switched from toast to eggs with vegetables. Within 2 weeks, the morning mental fog lifted significantly. Harold's blood sugar readings stabilized, and his thinking felt sharp and clear throughout the morning hours. This brings up an important point about combining white tea with food choices. While white tea helps moderate blood sugar spikes, it's most effective when paired with meals that don't create massive glucose challenges in the first place. If you're drinking white tea but still eating sugary cereals, pastries, or other high-carbohydrate foods, you're not getting the full benefit. The tea helps, but it's not magic. Think of it as one important component of an overall approach to blood sugar stability. Here's a simple guideline that works well for most people over 60. Drink white tea 30 minutes before meals that contain carbohydrates. Choose complex carbohydrates like oatmeal, whole grain bread, or sweet potatoes rather than simple sugars. Include protein and healthy fats with each meal to further slow glucose absorption. This combination approach is what creates lasting results, not relying on white tea alone to solve blood sugar problems created by poor food choices. Patricia, 70, learned this lesson the hard way. She switched from apple juice to white tea but continued eating her favorite breakfast pastry every morning. Her blood sugar improvements were minimal because the pastry created such a large glucose spike that even the tea's benefits couldn't fully compensate. When Patricia paired her white tea routine with a breakfast of Greek yogurt, berries, and nuts, her morning blood sugar readings improved dramatically. The tea helped optimize her body's response to the natural sugars in berries, while the protein and fat in yogurt and nuts prevented any significant glucose spike. Patricia's new routine became something she enjoyed more than her old pastry and juice combination. She felt satisfied longer, had more stable energy, and actually looked forward to breakfast instead of feeling guilty about starting the day with sugar. Now let me address the cost comparison between juice and white tea, because this matters for people on fixed incomes. A gallon of quality orange juice costs approximately $4 to $6 and lasts most people about a week. White tea bags cost roughly $3 for a box of 20, with each bag making 1 to 2 cups. A single box can last 3 to 4 weeks. But here's the real cost comparison. The long-term health costs associated with poor blood sugar control include increased doctor visits, medications, potential complications like neuropathy or cardiovascular disease, and reduced quality of life. White tea isn't just cheaper up front. It's an investment in avoiding much larger health expenses down the road. The convenience factor also favors tea over juice. Tea bags are lightweight, don't require refrigeration, and won't spoil if you forget about them. Juice requires refrigerator space, has expiration dates, and can be messy if spilled. For travel, tea bags are infinitely more practical than trying to transport juice. Michael, 73, discovered this convenience benefit when he started traveling more frequently to visit grandchildren. Carrying tea bags was simple and allowed him to maintain his blood sugar routine regardless of where he stayed. Hotels always had hot water available, and he didn't have to worry about finding his preferred juice in unfamiliar grocery stores. Michael's travel experience highlighted another benefit of white tea over juice. Tea doesn't contribute to digestive issues the way juice sometimes can, especially during travel when routines are disrupted and stress levels are higher. Some people experience digestive upset from fruit juice, particularly citrus juices, especially when consumed on an empty stomach. White tea is generally well tolerated and may actually support digestive health through its antioxidant properties. But here's something important about individual tolerance. While white tea is suitable for most people over 60, those with caffeine sensitivity need to monitor their response. Start with half a cup and observe how you feel. If you experience jitters, rapid heartbeat, or sleep disruption, reduce the amount or switch to caffeine-free herbal teas that still offer blood sugar benefits. The best caffeine-free alternatives for blood sugar control include cinnamon tea, bitter melon tea, and gymnema tea. These don't contain the exact same beneficial compounds as white tea, but they offer blood sugar support without caffeine. Eleanor, 67, discovered she was more caffeine-sensitive than she realized when she started drinking white tea. Even the modest caffeine content affected her sleep quality. She switched to cinnamon tea, which provided blood sugar benefits without caffeine, and achieved similar improvements in her glucose control. Eleanor's experience illustrates an important principle. The goal isn't to force white tea specifically, but to find a healthy beverage that supports blood sugar stability while fitting your individual needs and preferences. This leads to the question of timing and frequency. How much white tea should you drink, and when should you drink it for optimal blood sugar benefits? Most research suggests that 1 to 3 cups daily provides optimal benefits for blood sugar control. More than 3 cups may provide excess caffeine for some people without additional blood sugar benefits. Less than 1 cup daily likely won't provide significant glucose management benefits. The timing that works best for most people is 30 minutes before meals, particularly before breakfast and dinner when blood sugar spikes tend to be highest. Some people also enjoy a cup mid-afternoon to help stabilize energy levels and prevent late-day sugar cravings. Thomas, 75, experimented with different timing schedules and found that white tea worked best for him when consumed 30 minutes before breakfast and again at 3 in the afternoon. This schedule prevented his typical morning blood sugar spike and eliminated the late afternoon energy crash that used to drive him toward sugary snacks. Thomas kept a simple log for 1 month, tracking his blood sugar readings and energy levels at different times of day. The pattern became clear within 2 weeks. White tea consumed before meals provided better blood sugar control than tea consumed with meals or several hours after eating. This timing principle relates to how the beneficial compounds in white tea interact with your digestive system. They need to be present when you're breaking down and absorbing carbohydrates to have maximum effect on glucose metabolism. Here's the seasonal consideration that many people overlook. White tea is naturally refreshing and can be enjoyed hot or cold, making it suitable year-round. During summer months, cold brewed white tea provides the same blood sugar benefits as hot tea while offering cooling refreshment. To cold brew white tea, use twice as many tea bags or loose tea as you would for hot brewing. Add room temperature water and refrigerate for 6 to 12 hours. The longer steeping time at cool temperature extracts the beneficial compounds while creating a smoother, less bitter flavor. Cold brewed white tea became Janet's summer solution. At 71, she had been struggling to maintain her white tea routine during hot weather when the thought of drinking hot beverages was unappealing. Cold brewing allowed her to continue getting blood sugar benefits while staying cool and hydrated. Janet prepared a pitcher of cold brewed white tea every 3 days, keeping it refrigerated and ready to drink. She found that having tea readily available made it easier to maintain consistent consumption, which improved her overall blood sugar control. The preparation convenience of cold brewing also solved Janet's morning routine challenges. Instead of waiting for water to heat and tea to steep, she could pour a glass of pre-prepared tea and continue with her morning activities. Now let's talk about quality differences in white tea, because not all white tea provides equal blood sugar benefits. The processing method and quality of tea leaves directly affects the concentration of beneficial compounds. Look for white tea that uses whole buds and leaves rather than broken pieces or tea dust. Silver needle white tea and white peony are 2 varieties that typically contain higher levels of beneficial polyphenols. Avoid white tea that lists artificial flavors or additives on the ingredient list. Organic white tea isn't necessarily better for blood sugar control, but it ensures you're not consuming pesticide residues along with your beneficial compounds. Given that you're likely to drink white tea daily for blood sugar management, choosing organic makes sense for overall health. Store white tea in an airtight container away from light, heat, and moisture to preserve those beneficial compounds. Properly stored white tea maintains its blood sugar benefits for up to 2 years, though the flavor is best within 1 year of purchase. Richard, 66, initially bought the cheapest white tea he could find at a discount store. His blood sugar improvements were modest at best. When he switched to higher quality white tea from a reputable tea company, his results improved noticeably within 2 weeks. Richard learned that the cheapest tea often contains more stems and broken pieces, which have lower concentrations of the polyphenols responsible for blood sugar benefits. Spending a few extra dollars on quality tea made a significant difference in his glucose control. Results: the investment in quality tea proved worthwhile when Richard calculated the cost per cup of meaningful blood sugar support. Even premium white tea cost less per serving than most beverages, while providing significant health benefits. But here's the most important thing to understand about switching from juice to white tea for blood sugar control. This isn't about perfection or dramatic overnight changes. It's about creating a sustainable daily habit that supports your long-term health. Many people over 60 have been drinking fruit juice for decades. Changing this habit requires patience with yourself and realistic expectations about the timeline for seeing benefits. Blood sugar improvements from white tea typically become noticeable within 2 to 4 weeks of consistent daily consumption. The key word is consistent. Drinking white tea 3 days 1 week and skipping it the next 4 days won't provide meaningful blood sugar benefits. Your body needs time to adapt to the beneficial compounds and for those compounds to support improved insulin sensitivity. This consistency principle applies to preparation as well. Using proper water temperature and steeping time consistently will provide more reliable results than perfect preparation some days and shortcuts other days. Develop a routine that you can maintain long-term rather than an elaborate ritual you'll abandon after 2 weeks. Margaret, who we met earlier, succeeded with white tea because she made it simple and sustainable. She bought an electric kettle with temperature control, set up her tea supplies in one convenient location, and prepared her tea the same way every morning. This routine became automatic within 10 days. Margaret's sustainable approach meant that white tea became as natural as brushing her teeth. She didn't have to think about it or motivate herself daily. The habit was established, and the blood sugar benefits followed naturally from consistent practice. The sustainability factor is why white tea succeeds where many other interventions fail. It requires minimal time, equipment, or preparation. It fits into existing morning routines without major disruption. It provides immediate sensory satisfaction while delivering long-term health benefits. Compare this to other blood sugar management strategies that require major lifestyle overhauls, expensive supplements, or complicated protocols. White tea's simplicity makes it accessible and maintainable for people at any life stage or activity level. But let me address the concern that some people have about caffeine intake after 60. While white tea contains less caffeine than coffee or black tea, it's still a consideration for people who are caffeine sensitive or taking medications that interact with caffeine. If you're taking medications for heart conditions, anxiety, or sleep disorders, discuss adding white tea to your routine with your healthcare provider. The caffeine content is modest, but it's always wise to check for potential interactions. For most people over 60, the caffeine content in 1 to 2 cups of white tea daily is well tolerated and may actually provide beneficial alertness without the jitters or crashes associated with coffee or energy drinks. The caffeine in white tea is released more slowly than coffee caffeine because it's bound to tannins in the tea leaves. This creates a gentler, more sustained energy effect rather than the rapid spike and crash cycle that coffee often produces. James, 72, was initially concerned about caffeine because he had switched to decaffeinated coffee years earlier due to sleep issues. He started with half a cup of white tea in the morning and found that it provided gentle alertness without affecting his sleep quality. Over 2 months, James gradually increased to 1 full cup of white tea daily and discovered that his overall energy levels were more stable throughout the day compared to his previous decaffeinated coffee routine. The blood sugar benefits were an added bonus to the improved energy stability. James's experience illustrates that the modest caffeine content in white tea, combined with its blood sugar stabilizing effects, often provides better overall energy management than coffee alternatives. This brings us to the question of what results you can realistically expect when switching from juice to white tea for blood sugar control. Individual results vary based on starting blood sugar levels, overall diet, activity level, and other health factors. Most people over 60 who make this switch consistently see improvements in post-meal blood sugar readings within 2 to 3 weeks. Energy levels typically stabilize within the first week, as blood sugar spikes and crashes are reduced. Long-term benefits, which may include improved insulin sensitivity and reduced risk of diabetes complications, typically develop over several months of consistent white tea consumption. Combined with other healthy lifestyle practices, the most dramatic improvements occur in people who were drinking large amounts of fruit juice daily before switching. Those who consumed juice occasionally may see smaller, but still meaningful improvements in blood sugar. Stability. Keep realistic expectations and focus on the process, rather than demanding specific numerical improvements within arbitrary timeframes. Blood sugar management is influenced by many factors beyond beverage choices, though switching from juice to white tea is one of the most impactful single changes you can make. Sarah, 73, tracked her blood sugar readings for 6 weeks after switching from cranberry juice to white tea. Her average morning readings dropped from 148 to 126, and her post-meal spikes decreased from over 180 to around 150. Sarah's improvements were significant and typical for someone making this switch consistently. She also noted improvements in energy levels, fewer afternoon sugar cravings, and better sleep quality as secondary benefits of more stable blood sugar throughout the day. The improvements in Sarah's case were steady and progressive, rather than dramatic overnight changes. This gradual improvement pattern is normal and actually indicates that her body was adapting sustainably to better blood sugar management. Now let me share the most common mistakes that prevent people from getting blood sugar benefits from white tea, so you can avoid them from the start. Mistake number 1 is inconsistent preparation. Using different water temperatures, steeping times, or tea amounts from day to day creates inconsistent results. Establish a standard routine and stick to it until it becomes automatic. Mistake number 2 is expecting immediate dramatic changes. Blood sugar improvements from white tea develop over weeks, not days. Keep a simple log of your energy levels and blood sugar readings if you monitor them, but don't expect transformation in the first few days. Mistake number 3 is adding sweeteners or drinking white tea with high-sugar foods. If you add honey to your tea and eat pastries, you're not getting meaningful blood sugar benefits. The tea helps, but it can't overcome poor food choices. Mistake number 4 is drinking too much too soon. Start with 1 cup daily and gradually increase if desired. Some people experience digestive upset or caffeine sensitivity when they suddenly start drinking 3 cups of white tea daily. Mistake number 5 is choosing poor quality tea. Cheap white tea with artificial flavors or broken leaf pieces won't provide the same blood sugar benefits as quality whole leaf white tea. This is worth the small additional investment. William, 68, made several of these mistakes initially and saw minimal blood sugar improvements. He was using water that was too hot, adding honey to his tea, and drinking it with sugary cereal. When he corrected these mistakes over 2 weeks, his results improved significantly. William's learning curve illustrates why understanding proper preparation and realistic expectations is crucial for success with white tea as a blood sugar management tool. The good news is that these mistakes are easily corrected once you're aware of them. Most people who struggle initially see good results once they adjust their approach. Here's a final consideration that might influence your decision to switch from juice to white tea. White tea's benefits extend beyond blood sugar control into areas that directly impact quality of life after 60. The antioxidants in white tea support cardiovascular health, which becomes increasingly important as we age. The gentle caffeine provides mental alertness without anxiety. The ritual of preparing and drinking tea can become a mindful practice that reduces stress. These additional benefits mean that switching to white tea isn't just about blood sugar management. It's about supporting multiple aspects of health and well-being through one simple daily practice. Consider white tea as part of an overall approach to healthy aging rather than a single-purpose intervention. This broader perspective helps maintain motivation and makes the daily habit more meaningful. The research on white tea and aging continues to develop, with studies examining its effects on bone health, immune function, and cognitive performance in older adults. While these areas need more research, the preliminary findings are encouraging for people choosing white tea as a daily beverage. Most importantly, white tea is safe, affordable, and enjoyable for most people over 60. Unlike many health interventions that require major lifestyle changes or carry significant risks, switching from juice to white tea is a low-risk change with potential for meaningful benefits. If you're currently drinking fruit juice regularly and you're over 60, replacing it with properly prepared white tea is one of the simplest and most effective changes you can make for blood sugar control. The research supports it, diabetes specialists recommend it, and thousands of people have experienced the benefits firsthand. Start with 1 cup of white tea 30 minutes before breakfast, prepared with water heated to 175 degrees and steeped for 4 to 5 minutes. Give it at least 3 weeks of consistent daily consumption before judging results. Track how you feel rather than obsessing over numbers. Notice your energy levels throughout the day, your cravings for sugary snacks, and your overall sense of well-being. These subjective improvements often appear before measurable changes in blood sugar readings. Remember that this change works best as part of an overall healthy lifestyle that includes appropriate physical activity, stress management, and balanced nutrition. White tea supports these other healthy practices rather than replacing them. The transition from juice to white tea represents more than just switching beverages. It's choosing stability over spikes, long-term health over short-term pleasure, and taking control over letting blood sugar control you. So let me ask you this. After everything you've learned about white tea and blood sugar control, which aspect interests you most? Will you try it for the blood sugar benefits, the sustained energy, or the potential long-term health advantages? Drop a comment and let me know what motivated you to consider making this change.